Hello, everyone. This is Kevin Sharp. I'm here today with writer artist David Peterson, creator of Mouse Guard, to talk about a page he loves. David, welcome to the CAF Plus channel and comic art fans. We're really happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
When it comes to the picks for this segment, there are deep cuts and then there are deep, deep cuts. And I think what you've chosen is one of the second ones, as it may not be a book that a lot of our viewers are familiar with. Could you please introduce the artist and the title we'll be talking about today?
Sure, we're looking at The Beast of Chicago, The Murderous Career of H. Holmes by Rick Geary.
So this title is from the early 2000s. Where would you have encountered this to the best of your memory?
So when I got this volume, which is Rick Geary does a series of these books that are true crime, usually Victorian murder, but he's now moved into early 20th century murder. I was already familiar with Rick and this series of books. The first one was called The Mystery of Mary Rogers. And I remember stumbling upon that in a public library in Roseville, Michigan. I was visiting my then girlfriend, now wife, while she was at work, and I had a day off and I had nothing to do. And so I just went to the public library there and stumbled upon this graphic novel, and I was just kind of blown away at comics that were true, like true stories, nonfiction, and also that the artwork was just different than your standard comic book look, your flavor of the month. And I just fell in love. So by the time I found Beast of Chicago, I was already well familiar and hooked on the Rick Geary style of work.
So when it comes to narrowing down that you want to talk about this book, what is your selection process as far as narrowing down the specific page to pick out of this?
I chose this one partly just to narrow down this book. This is my favorite of the Rick Geary true crime books. Um, Partly Rick's, for Rick's own good work, but also I just find this particular case compelling, and interesting and horrific in that true crime you want to dig in deeper kind of way. This page in particular is one that I actually own the original. And I picked it out when Rick and I got to meet Rick, and we were talking about maybe doing an art trade, and I said, I'm sure that you don't have much left. And he said, oh, I have a lot of things left. And I said, well, I'd want one from Beast of Chicago. And I picked out this page because it has everything. It's got a map, it's got architecture, it's got a character, and then it's got just kind of that killer sting on the end in the last panel, or the last series of panels that ends up with the last panel where we know this is a true crime story. This is America's first serial killer, and he's welcoming in tenants with special amenities for the ladies.
What about the artwork specifically jumps out at you here?
The art of the infographic is very difficult to do, I think, well, when it can be easy to get bogged down in all those details and all the cross-hatching and line work. So all the maps, and sometimes Rick Geary has cutaways in some of his chapters where you'll see the whole floor plan of a house laid out, so we can see, which direction people had access to which rooms. Um, that's it. It's hard to do that without overwhelming it with detail or underwhelming it where it's, not interesting. And this first panel with the map, all the info you need is there. And then it's these architectural drawings that still have a lot of character and life. They are not perfect, 1 point or 2 point perspective drawings. Everything still has some life to it. I love the borders that he uses in this. That the gutter is essentially black and the border has like a white band around it. I think that takes us back in time to a totally different style, historically speaking, not just in comics, but just in art, in framing, in tone. And then I like that, like on the third panel, this, it's the most dynamic image in some ways, even though it's architectural. And one of the reasons that it's dynamic is he breaks the panel border with it. He comes up out of panel two or panel three into panels one and two.
As an
So
artist yourself, what are your thoughts on drawing architecture? Something you enjoy?
it is. It's something I enjoy, partly because I get lost in building architectural models for a lot of my architecture with mouse guard. I'll use styrofoam or popsicle sticks or balsa wood or cardstock or cardboard and build my architectural models so that I can rotate them and look at them from different angles, photograph them, and not have to worry about all the perspective. And then just get into what angle, what vantage point is going to be the most dynamic for this part of the story. Whether there are characters involved and I need to make sure that they're seen, or if the scale is important, or if it's just about mood and atmosphere. And Rick is doing all of that here.
And is this something as an art collector, do you display your art on the walls or are these in portfolios?
This is framed and just above my desk, a little to the right now. It was I'm in my studio right now, and the wall where all of that artwork is hanging, kind of my inspiration wall, was under renovation for quite a while, where I was trying to decide what pieces went there and what didn't, and the things that were there that needed to come down, where their new homes were going to be. And so the Rick Geary piece, once it was framed, didn't have a home in this room for a while, even though I knew I wanted it to be here. And so it stayed in our guest room for a long time, which I got kind of a little devilish tickle out of that, with the theme of the book, the theme of that page in particular of this serial killer welcoming guests into his murder castle. And we had that we had that on our guest room wall.
Let's jump over to your work then. You have a new book coming out, should be right around the time viewers are seeing this video. So please tell us what we can be on the lookout for.
Yeah, Wind in the Willows, an illustrated edition is coming out October 7th. It's a soft cover. It's from IDW, and it has 20 full color illustrations and 50 black and white illustrations. It had been previously released by IDW many years ago in hardcover, but unfortunately went out of print rather quickly and hasn't been available for well over 5 years, I think. So it's nice that they're getting back in print, making it a soft cover so it's a little easier on everybody's wallet. I did a new cover for it. We made sure that the old cover is still included as a two-page spread. It's a good volume, and I'm pleased that it'll be back in print. It took me years to illustrate that book, and I'm very proud of it.
Fantastic. Thank you for alerting us to that. And thank you for taking the time to join us and talk about this. I was not aware of this series of books at all. And I'm going to guess maybe many of our viewers won't have been.
Of course, I think Rick's work is criminally underappreciated. Not enough people know about these books of his, and they're fantastic.